All right, it's all set.
All righty, sounds good. We do have a draft of the last minutes of the last meeting. Has everybody had a chance to take a look at that?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Further discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Great, all in favor, thank you. Any opposed? Okay, that's handled. Why don't we, comments or concerns of any persons today? You said that Pamela had, Paulette or Pamela had something to talk about?
Yes, Paulette, yep.
Morning, go ahead, Paulette.
Good morning again, everybody. Paulette Annan, Assistant Legal Director, Consumer Protection. I'm really excited to introduce our newest hire, Paul Grabowski. And he will introduce himself, tell you guys a little bit about himself. He will be doing the enforcement actions for a lot of the occupational professional trades for the enforcement. So, Paul?
Thanks, Paulette. Yeah, my name is Paul Grabowski. I just started with the department about 2 weeks ago. Again, I'll be handling the enforcement actions going forward. I come to the department from a nonprofit called the Center for Medicare Advocacy, where I actually represented the Department of Social Services in a appeals project. So I did a lot of administrative appeals before the Medicare agency. So that's my background, a lot of administrative appeals, and I'm happy to be aboard and looking forward to working with the board. Thank you.
Welcome aboard, Paul. Appreciate your joining and giving us a hand.
Thank you.
Okay, DCP Investigative Division Complaint Status Report. Did everybody get the email that Karen sent out?
Yep.
Janita, any hot topics on this particular report?
No, Mr. Chairman, I wouldn't say any hot topics. It's kind of cold these days.
Yeah, literally.
I figure since Mr. Herbert's kind of retired, I'll try and take up some of the slack, you know,
All right.
with
Pretty
the
big-
jokes, and the puns. No, from November 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2021, we received 18 new complaints. And in that time frame, 14 files were closed, of which the closed files are listed on the report itself. And does anybody have any questions about those closed files?
No, other than why do people keep doing stupid things thinking they're gonna get away with it?
Well, Mr. Chairman, that would require somebody to be a mind reader, and that's not my job.
Yeah, I know.
No, I know. I will say this, it's not a hot topic per se, but I will say that out of all the boards that I report to, the heating, cooling, sheet metal, piping board does tend to have the largest amount of complaints that come in.
Well, we're just actually lucky because we do have a lot of licenses where others, you know, a little different.
True. No, that is true. You know, and I say that from a context that, you know, elevator, fire protection, glaziers, maybe 1 or 2 files, but it's heating and cooling, electrical and plumbing. That pretty much take up the bulk of the caseload that comes in for investigation and based on complaints.
I'm just so proud that we're number 1. Wow. All right. Any gentlemen on the board have any questions for Janita? No?
So Bob Barrio, Chairman Barrio, I'd like to speak. This is Pamela Brown, Director of Investigations.
Yes,
So as
Pamela.
we move through, as we know, Rich Kroger has retired, and as we move through the transition, currently the board administration will be assigned to investigations until we further analyze all that Richard has done over the years. So anything that has to do with the boards at this moment will go through investigations, and Karen is a part of investigations as of January 1.
And I hope you're not telling us that she will no longer be handling the heating board. She has done a phenomenal job. She has a very quick sense about a lot of these applications, and she's able to handle, or if there's a piece of paper that slips through, she's right on top of it. She doesn't bury it to the next meeting. And she's quite a great asset that we have. So really do not want to lose her.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Just we needed to assign this work somewhere. And since Rich, I'm happy that he's around because he covered a lot of areas. So he will be with us as a consultant. But at this moment, this work is under investigations.
Okay, not a problem. You gentlemen on the board understand that? Good morning, David. Mr. Foster, can you hear us?
He's muted.
Is he still here? There he is. David,
There we go.
there you go.
I was having a problem getting in for some reason. I don't know what the hell's going on. Good morning.
Good morning, David. Good to see you. David, I'm not sure if you're aware that Richard has retired and Pamela just finished speaking. Did you catch all of that? Are we gonna do hand signals today or what?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I heard Richard retired. That's not good. What the hell?
Well, he's been with the department for a few days or so, you know, so some big shoes to fill.
He's joining your rank.
Yeah, and I'm still working at it.
That's your fault.
Yes, dear. Okay, so we'll move on. Old business, substitute act. Is Leslie O'Brien on?
No, she isn't.
Okay, I talked to her yesterday. They have revised the language, so to say. It's at the governor's office now for sign off, and I guess they're gonna try to straighten it out in the next legislative session. And Cammie, I assume you're still going to be lobbying?
Yes. Along with Jay Moore.
All right, sounds good. Keep an eye on it. Janita, do you really think that this revision is going to help us or hinder us?
Mr. Chairman, that's for the commissioners, staff, and Leslie O'Brien and legal to deal with. I have nothing to do with the legislation that's passed or promulgated or anything, so I have no comment other than I'm not involved.
Okay,
What legislation are you talking about? I'm sorry, I haven't been to board meetings, so and for my knowledge and for Paul Grabowski, what are we talking about?
the House Substitute House Bill 6100, an act concerning Department of Consumer Protection, licensing and enforcement, antitrust issues. You know, they were trying to get the licenses written down on work orders.
Oh, okay, I know which one you're talking about. Yep.
I wish we weren't talking about it because it creates a little bit of a dilemma. What's going to happen, and just based on previous experiences, is that the reputable contractors will comply, the unreputable will not, and it's the same group that you always continue to have difficulties with.
Thanks.
So this is Pamela Brown, Director of Investigations. The initial proposal came from my division. And it was just simply, our request was simply to have the credential holder write down on the invoice their license number and their name, so that when we do an investigation, we'll be able to determine who did the work. And we all understand, yes, the contractor record is responsible, but if they're working out of the scope, we want to know. And sometimes we see that a little bit more in the service industry. However, once the proposal went forward, I can't tell you how it actually morphed into something greater than that, but I know that Leslie has been working to make revisions. And I haven't seen the draft of the new language. So Leslie would be the person that you would want to speak with. I know you said you spoke with her yesterday, but that's her area.
Right, and she's not commenting on on the language as yet, other than because it needs to be approved by the board, the governor's office, which they've had since November, I believe. So who knows, but Cammie, please keep an eye out.
Just question, Bob, to Pam, is that for work orders that are on site at the customer's house? Because a lot of times we don't have work orders because it's dispatched from the office.
Right, so we'll probably have to work through that, but the idea was if it was a work order, an invoice that you're leaving at someone's home, I know a lot of people are doing, or businesses are doing electronic contracts, through the email, they're signing with their fingers on an iPad, but just so that they know who was in their home and who touched their boiler or who touched whatever it is, we need to know that so that when we do investigation, that will help us with the amount of times that we're doing research. And then, the contractors who are on the up and up will tell us, we'll have records, but we have to, we always deal with those who don't want to say, they don't have, they have a electrical guy doing the heating and cooling. That's what we want to know.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably more contractors that do not have electronic, like myself, haven't invested a few $100,000 into doing it. And we do not have paper work orders at houses.
Right, so I'm not asking, we weren't asking for anyone to do invoicing, make special letterhead, simply handwritten, or that's, someone can type it in when you're typing up the billing.
Yeah, I mean, all the paperwork's generated at the office with the technician's name on it. The customer just doesn't have one.
Yes, we'll probably have to look into it further, but Leslie is at the helm of that. So maybe I can have a discussion with her. I haven't seen anything new or updated.
Yeah, not everyone's got electronic. I mean, my trucks have that sort of thing. We have iPads in the trucks, but I haven't done that in the service department yet. It's a big undertaking. And
Yeah,
very
it's
expensive.
we see it all over. Gyms everybody's going electronic contracts, but not everyone. So the customer has the right by law to ask for a paper contract if they choose not to have an electronic contract.
Well, these aren't really contracts. We have
Or
no
invoices, right?
Yeah,
work
we have a
orders,
no heat
invoices.
call, to a customer, doesn't have a service contract or anything. We just go and repair it for them. And then we invoice them.
This seems like it's going to be burdensome for the contractor, and it's really only going to be achievable by the more sophisticated contractor, and the people that it's designed to catch and screen are going to get away with it because they're not going to do it anyways. So I'm opposed to this whole thing, just for the record.
Well, the problem is it's already in the law.
I know, but it's not going to be like, what's the enforcement of it? Is it, you're going to start fining everybody for not putting it on their invoices? To David's point, if you're electronic, you can pre-program it, but David and people like his company aren't the ones who have the issue. It's the ones who are not doing anything to the rest of the statutes, and they're not going to do this either. So I just don't understand. It just seems like more work and more expense that's going to get passed along to the customer, because these customers are paying for time on the job. And as crazy as it sounds, filling in one more thing, debriefing the tech, here's what's going to happen. Hey, David, did you write down your name and number on the invoice? No. Okay, go back, put that on, have them re-sign the invoice. It's all going to cost money, and it's going to translate from a consumer perspective into higher rates. I don't see the benefit personally, just for whatever it's worth.
That's pretty accurate. Again, good contractors will do it, and the poor contractors, you'll still be chasing. Hopefully we can get through this, and Cammie, please keep an eye out if you can. Okay, now, Karen sent along a updated version of licenses, equivalent licenses. Have you gentlemen had a chance to take a look at what you have already approved and what you have not approved? Cammie, if you're speaking, we can hardly hear you.
I think Cammy keeps getting cut off. He's got poor reception at his house.
Yeah, he's not even, I think.
There he's
There
back
he is.
on.
Can you hear us?
Mike, half of the speed.
Can't hear you, Cammy.
Yeah, we can't hear you. You're breaking up.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, we can't hear from Cammie. You have any idea his position on that, Mike or John?
I do not. I mean, I looked at the list. It looks pretty good to me. I don't know what Cammy's input is.
Okay, and have you gentlemen looked at the not approved?
So basically what the approved and not approved is, it's just kind of cuts to the chase, the reciprocity. So if they have these, we're going to just make the assumption they've passed all the educational and apprenticeship requirements, and then they can sit for our test. And if they're in the not approved, we're going to assume they do not qualify, and we're not going to approve them.
No, what we have is there's two pieces of paper that Karen sent out on January 5th.
Yep.
And pretty much is when Rich Hurlbert, Todd Birch and myself go through these things. If the people meet these requirements, we are saying reciprocity, and we will approve them to sit for the exam.
Mhm.
If they don't meet it, then we say you need to take this and blah, blah, blah. So they've been pretty good about it. But there's an additional list as we've worked through this it's evolving over a period of time, is that we're looking at other licenses, and you need to come up with a variety to match our like S8. I don't know if you have that paperwork in front of you.
I do.
So we're saying that if you have Rhode Island, pipe fitter journeyman, oil burner service journeyman, propane gas, natural gas, then you're eligible for an S8. And same thing, we're recognizing that the Mass LP gas installer is similar to our G2, as well as Rhode Island for the G2. Now, that has not been approved by the full board. And part of this process, and I don't want to speak out of turn, is to try to help Karen, because you have no idea how many emails and questions and why can't I do this? How do I do that? That some of these guys want, okay? And we try to work through them, and we've got a great little team here going where we pretty much, I would say 90% of the time are on the money with decisions. So the second sheet that she sent out saying not approved, what we're looking to try to do is ask the board representatives if they want to put this on the list of approved by the full board.
And Bob, you're only talking like the S81 and the G2
Yes,
licenses?
yes. And that's for now, because as we go through, we're finding more states are now going in and getting licenses. It's like if somebody from completes the 777 program, and it's the same program throughout the nation, we will recognize that and say,
Yeah, yeah.
yes, you can sit for the S2 exam or whatever it is, because they've met your requirements, which is a nationwide thing. And if we recognize it in Connecticut, we need to recognize it in the other states. That's the reciprocity.
So the S8, they have to have all 4 of those licenses?
Yes,
Yep.
because they pick pieces and put the pieces together. They've done it a little different. And, you know, I think, again, for some reason, back in the 60s, the legislatures were able to put together some pretty good categories with small modifications as we went along. So those seem to work pretty good.
So you're looking for a
Tammy.
motion to approve those to get added?
I need a second.
I'll second it.
All right, further discussion. John, are you comfortable with this? David, Cammy?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Karen, wonderful job. If you could put this on the approved list.
Okay. And
Thank
who was
you.
the second? Tom made the motion and I didn't catch.
Mike made the
Mike.
It
second.
was Mike. Okay. All right. And everybody's in agreement, so it's unanimous?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. It makes the working group, the task of the working group much easier, and it helps with just getting the applications processed quicker and more efficiently. So it's very helpful.
You've done a great job on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so B, we already handled. So now new business application review working group. It is quite interesting how things don't seem to change. The same problems we were having 10, 15, 20 years ago just keep coming back. Fortunately, Karen has been trying to handle a lot of this and even a little more, going back to them saying, listen, provide proof of work, provide whatever licenses you got. So it is helping, but some people just don't want to follow the rules. So any questions on what we're doing on that, you guys? Okay. Discussion regarding the licensure of radiant ceiling panels. I don't need this to be a long discussion. I would like to just start out by saying, if it's a radiant panel, it's like a radiator, it's like a fan coil. It's all supposed to be installed by a licensed HVAC contractor. That's the end of it.
Yeah,
I agree.
Bob, if I could just give you a little background of how this came about and where the industry's going.
Sure.
So this is all brand new, what's starting to happen. So you had 2 separate contractors when it came to ceilings, right? You had a ceiling contractor that would purchase the drop ceiling, the grid, the pads, and the hanger wire and all that. The radiant panels were separate by a different manufacturer, that a mechanical contractor would actually purchase the radiant panels from a separate vendor. And they were 2 different bid packages on jobs. Now you have manufacturers like Armstrong that are selling a whole soup to nuts sealant where you can't buy the radiant panel separate. So it's all in one big package. And the sealant contractor is the one that actually buys the whole sealant, but they're refusing to basically subcontract the radiant panels to a mechanical contractor. They're basically saying, hey, it's a sealant, we're putting it up, end of story. The pipe fitter will make the piping connections. Where before, like I said, it was two separate vendors. We would purchase the radiant panels. We would uncrate them when they came to the job. We would bring them in the room. The sealant would already be up with no sealant pads. We would drop the radiant panel in, adjust it to make sure that it was all plumb and level, and then make the piping connections. And, you know, at the end of the day, we'd come back, test it. And then, of course, you have to balance it through the circuit setters and everything. So I just don't know where this industry's going.
It's
Well-
like saying, right now, homeowners can buy full HVAC systems online and have them shipped and delivered to their house. They can buy generators. They can buy every single product. Does that mean because they shipped it to their house and the contractor didn't buy it, that they can have an unlicensed person install it? Who bought it and supplied it is irrelevant to who actually does the licensable work. So these are heating panels and they're under the licensed jurisdiction, and the ceiling vendor is going to have to bite the bullet, in my opinion, or be subject to a fine for working out of scope.
Yeah, I did invite Pamela Brown and a couple others to a meeting that's going to be up at UConn, right? This is the first one that I've ever seen up at UConn. There's 1,400 of these radiant panels being installed in the new science building up there. And Demio, the construction manager, they want to do the right thing. They don't want to break the law. So they're going to set up a mock room with like 6 panels in it so everybody can go up there and review it and determine whether it's licensable or not. Now, back in the 90s, if everybody remembers, there was a lawsuit between Abington Constructors and Connecticut DCP. Okay. And I have the paperwork here of the lawsuit and their appeal. They lost in Supreme Court. That they lost an appeal when the Department of Consumer Protection and the licensing board, little different situation, but we ruled that the moving of any type of mechanical equipment or materials, once it's delivered and dropped to a job site, you need to be licensed to move that to the final set and install. So this is almost the same thing, because the carpenter is gonna, once they're in the laydown area, the carpenter is gonna move the radiant panels and set the radiant panels. And then the licensed journeyman's just gonna go in and pipe it up. Now, the coils are already in the panels, so I just, to me, it's a radiator, whether it's hanging on the wall, a ceiling, a floor, whatever. It's always been a licensable issue. It's a low output heating radiator. End of story. Really is. And I don't know what Pamela Brown or Richard or anybody has any input on this. How do we straighten this one thing out on this job? Is anybody willing to go up there with me when the meeting happens in 2 to 3 weeks to review this? Or are we gonna take a vote at the licensing board and just say, hey, it's our opinion, this is a licensable issue, and send a letter to Demio stating that? I don't know.
Well, the problem is we're not going to be able to send the letter. It's either enforcement that sends the letter or consumer protection. And then that opens up a can of worms. And now we have Janita and Pamela involved. And Pamela, what are your thoughts?
I'm gonna need to get more information before I actually give an answer. And that may also mean getting legal involved, or will likely be bringing in legal on this as well. We can get back to you on that.
Yeah, I'd appreciate it. I sent you all the submittals that were approved by the architect and engineer on that project. So you should have all the paperwork. I emailed it to you.
Okay,
If you don't have it, let me know. I'll email it to you again.
Sure.
Also,
And the paperwork clearly states that it's mechanical equipment.
and you know, Mike, that's an old flashback with Babington because we had the plumbing board involved in it too as well, didn't we?
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
a pretty big case.
it was. I remember. So maybe send that along to Pamela as well because it's a licensable issue. And I guess we could take a vote just to reiterate it that we continue to agree with it. Whether it's binding with Dimeo or the other guy, we don't know, but at least if there's a discussion going on, some people may have second thoughts about how they want to handle it and work it out.
So in the meantime, when this meeting happens at UConn, what do we do?
Well, if I were you, I would bring the Babington thing up and I don't know what validity our particular vote will have since we'd have to go through enforcement, but I really think that we need to get a motion on the floor, a second, and then a discussion about it. So that at least we're on record of some way, some shape, some form.
I make a motion that the radiant heating panels are installation and commissioning is a licensable event.
Second it.
Okay, a further discussion. Richard, because you were involved with Babington as well then, what are your thoughts on this thing?
You know, from what I've heard so far, I mean, someone's got to go up and do a site inspection and find out exactly what it is, but it sounds like it's licensable work. I mean, no different than electricians putting their light fixtures up in the ceiling grid.
Or the diffusers, the sheet metal with the diffusers. I mean, it's the same thing. And basically, you know, the carpenter is saying, hey, it's new technology, so it's one package. We're able to install it. And I completely disagree with that.
It's
So
a
Mike was-
component of a heating system. It's covered by 393.
Yeah, and
I
if
thought Mike,
if the panel
Simple
fails,
as
guess what?
that.
The mechanical contractor is the one responsible to
Yeah.
fix the panel if the panel fails, because we're the ones that are actually going to do the final connection. All it is two pieces of pipe that we're going to connect together. But if the panel falls, guess what? The mechanical contractor owns it.
and this is just getting started because in that catalog for Armstrong, they also have chill beams that they would provide. They also have ceiling diffusers that would be part of the ceiling system. So this is just starting. There'll be a lot more equipment down the road.
For all those in favor of acknowledging that this is a licensable issue by a licensed trade, signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Mike, you have those particular things. If we could, Karen, if we get a chance to do the minutes of the meeting a little sooner, and then that way we could all have copies so that Mr. Rosario, when he goes up for his meeting, they'll understand that we believe that the board believes that this is a licensable item. And it's
Right,
required.
and I just, sorry.
Go ahead.
I want to make sure the wording that Tom did use, that radiant heat panels are installations, and did you say and are commissioned as a licensing event? I mean, is that exactly how you would like me to word it?
Yeah, I think from setting in place to installing to commissioning and servicing is all licensable. Everything to do with those panels is the same as a radiator or any other mechanical device.
Okay.
And the reason this is important for enforcement, and so I serve with some different HVAC manufacturer boards on the residential side, and there is a push, and it's not for public consumption. The manufacturers certainly don't want to like tell us contractors yet, but their goal at some point in the next years is to eliminate distributors and be able to ship directly to consumers. And with the internet and connectivity of equipment to be able to start up and commission the residential heating and cooling systems from a call center or a tech center someplace maybe not even in this country. And the idea would be that consumers can go on the internet, shop whatever they want, buy the product. This remote person would help tell them what size they need, help configure it, ship it to their house, and then they can have anybody they want install it. And how does anyone know about it? Now there's a permitting issue, there's a licensing issue. So, and it's going to be under the guise of, it's a consumer product. They bought it, like they bought a ceiling fan or something. So I think that we're seeing it more on the commercial side where they're packaging it up to keep all the money in one place. But this is coming down the line, not a question of if, but a question of when, where we're going to be fighting somebody trying to it's not to cut out the light. They're not trying to screw over DCP or anybody. They're just trying to get a faster, shorter path to the money and cut out as many hands as things get competitive. And so I know I won't say the brands, but 2 of the major top 5 brands in the country for HVAC are actively working on this.
Brave new world, gentlemen. Okay, Karen, you're all set with that?
Yes.
And
Yep.
how long would it take to get copies of the minutes of this meeting?
I can get it to you by tomorrow.
Next week would be fine, wouldn't it, Mike?
Yeah, that would be great. Karen and Richard, could we also include the handling and distribution once they're delivered? I mean, that's what the Abington lawsuit was about. And Richard, I think you were with us with that Abington lawsuit back in the 90s. It was pretty thorough. And that's what Abington was saying, that you could use a unlicensed
Right.
person to distribute all the materials to all the room and actually put up all the hangers, because it wasn't pipe, and put the pipe up, and then a licensed person would just make the connections. So if we could include the handling, just like chapter 393 says.
Right. From the laydown area in is a licensable item.
That it is.
So can you clarify what exactly how you'd like me to add some more wording?
I'll look it up for you, Karen.
All right.
Okay.
And what I would also suggest, Mike, is that when you go to that meeting, have a copy of the Babington lawsuit.
Yeah, I plan on bringing that as well. I mean, the submittals from that were approved by the architect and engineer really are the ones that say it all, but it's whether other people agree with me or not, but it's pretty clear cut.
Now, Janita and Pamela, you guys have any input on this stuff?
I'm not at this time. I really need to bring myself up to speed on it.
Okay, whatever you can do and keep us in the loop. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Correspondence, we have none. Comments or concerns of any person present today? Anybody else have something they would like to say?
Congratulations, Richard. Happy for you. Enjoy it.
Enjoy.
Thank you, thank you.
We'll miss
Gentlemen,
you.
ladies and gentlemen, I guess this concludes the meeting. You guys all have a great day. Be safe. Happy New Year, belated New Year. And hopefully we get through all of our COVID fun.
Stay warm.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah,
Yeah.
stay warm.
Yeah,
Thank
have
you.
a good one, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good day.